Hi, in this video we'll be looking at how to process forms that are part of PDF documents. Fairly common, you have various types of forms. This time we'll be looking at what is known as a 1003 form. This is a loan application kind of a thing. The thing is that we will extract information using LLMWhisperer, which is Unstruct's text extraction service. The general idea is that we will extract information from this form and then pass this on to a large language model so that we can extract all the information we need. The only trouble is that forms generally have elements like radio buttons and checkboxes and things like that, and we will need to process them very clearly. So there's two things going on here, right? First is, of course, the general theme is that we are extracting unstructured data. These are just forms that are made for humans. So to process this programmatically, we will be using a large language model. But more importantly, rather than passing this PDF directly to a large language model, we'll first be extracting the text. That's number one. So it's very important that whatever text extraction service we use has the ability to extract form elements like checkboxes and radio buttons, right? Now, apart from that, the text extraction service has to render these elements, which are text boxes and radio buttons, in a manner that large language models are able to interpret, right? Now, this is what we'll be doing. I'll show how super simple it is to use LLMWhisperer to extract information from one such form, what is known as the 1003. And we'll look at this. So we'll take a quick look at this form in front of us today. So this form has a few pages, 9 pages in fact, but it's enough to demonstrate that it can do a really good job by just extracting the first page, right? We just want to write a quick program that leverages a large language model. In fact, we'll be using LangChain to write our prompts and present them to a large language model. But we'll also be using the LLMWhisperer Python client, which makes it super easy for you to just call the LLMWhisperer service and then get the job done, right? So if you look at this form here, we have a bunch of personal information. The important bit is that the various form elements like radio buttons are used to denote whether the person who's applying for this loan is a US citizen or someone else. So we'll need to extract this information, and then whether it's an individual credit or joint credit, marital status, and we have also elements where we're saying that the mailing address does not apply. This is a checkbox which we need to figure out. We'll need this information to figure out if the mailing address is different from the current address, right? And we also have current employment and self-employment details. So we'll have to extract this checkbox, this radio button information pertaining to these fields so that we can accurately process this form, right? So let's get started. It's super easy to use LLMWhisperer to get this done. In fact, LLMWhisperer comes with a perpetual free plan, which allows you to extract information from 100 pages per day, right? And this should be plenty enough for you to go check LLMWhisperer capabilities with whatever documents you have. We do a really good job with forms and tables and handwritten forms and scanned forms, and this is a clean form for sure, but then it does a really good job with scanned forms as well, or even smartphone pictures of a form. Absolutely no problem there, right? Now let's take a look at what's going on here. We have PyCharm. Let me move this over so we can have this as a reference, and so that we can write our code here, right? This is a new project I created. So first is you will have to rename the sample env to env, right? And then you need two keys to work with this particular project, you need the LLMWhisperer key, which, like I said, you just sign up for free, and then you need an OpenAI key as well. We'll be using GPT 3.5 Turbo to pull out information from this form, right, using LangChain. And we also have a requirements.txt already set up with a few things. We need LangChain, we need LangChain OpenAI. Of course, we need the LLMWhisperer client. We need Pydantic so that we can have structured output from the large language model. And of course, we'll be using .env. So we can actually go ahead create our main Python file, which we will simply call main.py. Yeah, sure, we can add it to Git. We'll import a few things. We'll import sys. We'll need .env. Yeah, we'll take that suggestion, and we will also use this and field. We'll need that, and we'll right now just write our main function. Have that, and then we'll have. Yep, we'll do that. And let's go ahead and see if LLMWhisperer is working. Right, for that we will have a simple function, but before that also let's define a important function just for like a utility function. There you go. This is what we need. So we will have. There we go. So we are looking at this function, which is a fairly simple function, which will basically create a LLMWhisperer client. And then what we are doing is that we are calling the whisper method on the client, passing the file path and the pages to extract. And we will get back the extracted text, which we will examine in just a bit. But if something goes wrong, we simply exit, saying something went wrong. We just print the error message and just exit, right? This is a fairly simple function. What we'll do is that we will also import LLMWhisperer.client. We'll import LLMWhisperer client and LLMWhisperer client expression. Perfect. Let's check if things are okay here. Before that, I'll make sure that I will create a folder here. We'll call it assets. Within assets, we will create a docs folder. And into this doc folder, we will copy our example here. Let me open my terminal. All right, so we have our sample file here inside of assets and docs in our project. So that's all we need. Let's quit the terminal, and let's say we wanna create a new function called process say 1003 PDF. All right, and sure, we'll pass the file path, and yeah, we'll accept this suggestion where we are essentially just calling the extract text from PDF function, and we just go from there. So this looks good. Let's take care of that. Okay, this looks good. We can actually try running this by calling extract. Yeah, that's the one, but the name of the path is wrong. Let me fix that. Assets, docs, and we have 1003 sample.pdf. That's the one. If we run this, we should be able to get the extracted output from we will also take the page list. Page list equals none. We will pass page list into this here. We'll also say we just want the first page. We don't want anything else, right? So we will use that. And if we run this, we should be able to get a clean version of the output. I'm just gonna say run this. Let's see how this works. And if this works, there you go. We have beautifully rendered output from LLMWhisperer. So basically we have the name and everything else as it is in the document. So that's the powerful thing about LLMWhisperer, is that it preserves the layout of the document, and you can see how we are rendering the form elements so that large language models can process this, right? So, and see, this is picked it up as married and things like that, and the does not apply is ticked here, is checked here, so this is perfect, and we can definitely work with this, right? So yeah, let's go ahead and see how we can now use this output and figure out what's going on, right? All right, so we do have a clean output from LLMWhisperer, which is great, which is actually super difficult to get with all the form elements rendered properly, and this can make our job really easy, right? Now let's use a large language model, and I'll show you how to pull out information from a bunch of fields, right? So let's go ahead and create some models where we store our information in a structured manner. If you look at the PDF, we have the name here, and then we have the social security number, date of birth, and citizenship, right? And let's first create a model for that. So we will call this personal details. We will base this on the base model, the pydantic base model, and we will simply call this name. Here's some suggestion, which is awesome, but we'll simply call it name, and then we will take the suggestion. Then we will take social security number, right? And we will take the date of birth. That description should also work for us, but I think it's a good idea to have this as a date time because it's fairly usable that way. So let's do that. Let's change this to date time, and we will also need to, I guess, import that. Let's do that from datetime, import datetime. That works perfect. So let's now pull out citizenship. Yep, that should work, and that's pretty much it. It should just work because we have the information, and the large language model should be able to interpret it from the output we have. So if you look at the output here, the way the citizenship works is that we have beneath citizenship there's a separate column, and because LLMWhisperer actually maintains the layout, the large language model can actually figure out that date of birth is a column and citizenship is a column in which US citizen is actually picked out. And it can also figure out that this personal information 1A bit is actually a separate column, and these are then two other columns, right? That's absolutely no problem there. That's the very powerful thing about layout preservation, right? So that's really cool, right? So we're gonna keep going. I want to show you that we can actually pull out things like citizenship, which is based on it's actually a radio button, right? So we will now have a, let's say, loan details model in which we will have the personal details first. Personal details, and yep, that's right. We will, in this class, we will refer to the the personal details class that we just created here, right? And this should do a really good job, and actually we can just use this for now to check whether things work. Let me actually rename this to form 1003, right? This is probably a better name. It's like the filled out form, right? So we'll have this, right? Now all we need to do is that we will need to we have this function called process 1003 PDF, inside which we have extracted the text, and we saw that the text is perfect, right? Now what we do is we'll have another function where we will essentially pull out the necessary details, right? So we will call that, let's say, process 1003 info, right? Sure, we'll call that. We will take the extracted text. We'll use a preamble just to let the large language model know what we are trying to do, and we'll also use something we'll call a postamble that will be included after all of the information we have given the large language model goes. We'll also have something called the postamble there, right? We'll now create a preamble which will simply be what you are seeing is a filled out 1003 loan application form. Your job is to extract. Your job is to extract the information from it accurately. All right. Let's take care of the formatting a little bit here. Say fill the paragraph, no problem. Now that we have the preamble, so let's go ahead and create the rest of the code. So what we are doing here is that we are creating a system template message from the preamble. Then we are creating a system message prompt from the system template. It's very simple. We only have the preamble there. And then for the human template, this is where we include the text from the other portions of the program. So we have the format instructions which will come from Pydantic, right? So when we have a Pydantic class defined, which we defined earlier up here, and we have bits of prompts here. So what we're going to do is that we will use the Pydantic functions. For example, there's a function in Pydantic called get format instructions, which will take whatever description we have for each field of these classes, and then essentially create the prompts required to structure the output as we need it, right? So we'll take that, and of course we'll also need the extracted text, raw text, which came from LLMWhisperer, which we see down here. We will need that, and then we will need to have the Pydantic object here, which is our form 1003. Right, of course we need to define Pydantic output parser, which we will which will be part of LangChain, which we will just paste here. Pydantic output parser, hopefully that should get rid of the message. And we need a postamble, which we should be able to get from here. The postamble simply says do not include any explanations in the reply, only include the extracted information in the reply, right? So we also need chat OpenAI, and this is from LangChain OpenAI. Let me also include that import here. All right, so this particular function, let's look at what it does clearly. So we have a preamble which says, hey, you need to pull out information from a 1003 loan application. Then we have a postamble, which is a made-up word, but essentially is just tucked in finally to the prompt. Then we have a system template, which is just the preamble. Then we have a system message prompt, which is made of the preamble. Then in the middle, between the preamble and the postamble, we have the format instructions, the extracted text from LLMWhisperer of the actual form, and then finally the postamble will also go in there, right? Now, the format instructions are created from all this description of these fields using the get format instructions function of Pydantic, right, which is in the Pydantic parser. So it's super simple. LangChain makes it very easy for us to do. So we have a chat template from messages. So we have the system message prompt, the human message prompt, and what's the variables in the human message prompt we need to pass. So we pass the preamble. The format instructions come from the Pydantic parser, which will take these descriptions and create, look at the type of the field. Oh, it's a date field, so I want such and such an output and whatnot, and it creates, the instructions required to pull that information out in that particular format. Then the extracted text from LLMWhisperer goes in here. The postamble is finally tugged, and then we just say 2 messages, and then we pass this on to chat API. We pass a temperature of 0 because we want accurate output with no creativity, and then finally we should be able to see the response from the large language model. In this particular case, we should be able to pull out things like name, social security number, date of birth. Citizenship is where we have our first radio button involved, but because of format preservation, let's look at the output again. This is what we're trying to do. So the LLM will see this bit, right? This particular column, it should look at citizenship, and it should see that there is a X mark against US citizen as was in the form which was selected, and that should be enough for the large language model to conclude that it is indeed this person is indeed a US citizen, right? Now, if we run this, we should be able to actually get the structured output. So here we go. Let's accept this suggestion. We need to call process 1003. Let's run this. It should work. We can be a little bit more efficient by storing the LLMWhisperer output, because that is not going to change. Perfect. There we have it. So we have the name, the social security number, the date of birth, but more importantly, we have citizenship now, which was based on a checkbox, right? So when LLMWhisperer renders the radio button correctly, the large language model is indeed able to understand that this is what we need, right? Perfect. So, and you can imagine how much time you can save, doing this stuff, right? So now let's go ahead and in the 1003 form class, we could add a few more subclass. I mean, what I mean by subclass is a few more variables which point to other classes. So let's look at something which we can figure out now. The type of credit and the marital status are also radio buttons, and we can also pull out things like email and cell phone and those kind of things. This is fairly easy to do, but let's look at something more challenging. But just in case, let's pull out things like let's create a class called details, extra details. We just call it extra details. Okay, and let's call it type of credit. So this will just be type of credit. So it will be individual or joint. So it's just gonna pull it out. We should have no problem there. And then we should have marital status. This can also be a string. It's totally fine. It can be married, separated, or unmarried. We'll also pull out cell phone number here. All right. And then we will pull out the address has some some radio buttons. So we have, hey, is it own or is it rented and things like that. So in this particular case, there's a rent specified here, and it's a rent is clicked, for example. We want to pull that out, and so yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We also have a bunch of fields here, so let's see how we can pull that out. So we can create a separate class for address, current address, right? Keep it as base model, and then we'll have the street, city, state, zip code. Sure, we'll accept that. Residing in ADDR since. All right, so let's do that. We'll just call this since years, right? And we'll copy this over and call this month. All right, and we'll edit this to say months, not month. All right, so we should be able to pull this out, and we can also see whether it's a own house or a rented house, right? So let's do that. Own house boolean, rented house boolean, rent. Okay, and this should be, yeah, sure, float rent amount, right? We need that. This should be good. All right, let's leave a space here, make the formatter happy, remove a space here, make the formatter happy. Okay, this is pretty good. We should now include extra details and current address as part of the extra details, current address. Perfect. Now if we run this, we should be able to get those details as well. Let's check it out. LLMWhisperer typically takes just a few seconds for each page. We already have the output, and there you go. So I think there's a small problem with the form where both the own house and the rented house were actually selected, so it's showing as true. In fact, I removed the own house bit later on, but this form needs to be saved. That's okay. And the rent was also pulled out, but then this is perfect. And we got the other checkbox item. We also have the marital status married pulled out. That's one radio button. The other radio button was the type of credit, which was individual credit, which also got pulled out. This is perfect. So we're just processing radio buttons like it doesn't matter, right? Awesome. So let's look at some cases where there's checkbox, right? So now here in the same address area, there's a field which says, hey, the mailing address is different or not. Let's look at the raw text to see how we have rendered it, which is important. So here's the address bit, and where's the, I'm just looking for the checkbox where it says mailing address. Yeah, there you go, mailing address. And we have rendered it correctly. It says do not apply, and that is actually checked here, if you can see, right? Which is great. So now we can go ahead and ask, as part of current address, we can simply say is mailing address different, which is a boolean, right? Whether the mailing address is different or not, right? Different from the address, right? This is perfect. We can make the formatting better to make the linter happy. No problem there. And let's see if we are able to get this Boolean field correctly. So let's run this. And you have to realize that even GPT 3.5 is doing a really good job with the output of LLMWhisperer, right? Waiting for the LLM output. Yeah, mailing address is different is false, right? Because it does not apply, and the mailing address is not different. It is exactly the same as the current address. Perfect. So we got that one as well. Let's look at a bit more, maybe checkboxes and radio buttons. It's very interesting. So if you look at the employment details here, we have, for example, the position or title, and then we have check if you are the business owner. So let's see if this person is a business owner, which is true in this case, right? And we can check whether they have more than 25% share. So these are coming from one checkbox and one radio button. Let's do that, right? So this should make us happy. Let's create another class for business, right? Or we'll call this employment details, right? And we will say, what are we interested in? The checkbox is called check if you're the business owner or self-employed. Okay. Owner or self-employed is a Boolean. Perfect. This is what we need. And then we need the radio button selection, which talks about the ownership, right? So I have ownership of 25% or more. Ship of 25 ECT or more. There you go, right? So let's format this. Okay. Fill the paragraph, and we'll have one more new line here to make the linter happy. Mr. Linter. And we'll go ahead and execute this. So in this particular case, we should see that this particular applicant is indeed a business owner, and they have 25% more share, right? Oh, we forgot to include the class in the main class. Basically, in form 1003, we need to include employment details. Yeah, there you go. Let's run this again. We're calling LLMWhisperer multiple times, but you know what? We have 100 free pages every day. Might as well use the quota, right? And LLMWhisperer is pretty fast. There you go. It is this applicant is indeed a business owner. This is coming from a checkbox here, and they have 25% or more ownership, which is coming from a radio button here. So we have perfect extraction, right? This is awesome. So you just saw how easy it is to extract details from checkboxes and radio buttons from LLMWhisperer output, and of course Pydantic makes it very easy to structure the output. In a future video, we'll see how you pretty much don't have to do any of this, write so much code and stuff like that, by using the Unstruct platform, which is a very purpose-built environment to extract information from these kind of forms. Makes it super easy. We'll also take a look at that. I'll also see you in the next video. Thank you.